the heat. My people are not fools on the heat. You must let my people go, so we can rule from Cape to Cairo. You must free my...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ABS Africa Broadcasting Service. As usual, coming to you from Houston. Houston, in the great state of Texas. It's always a privilege to come to you with updates on the Ambazonian struggle for independence actualization. Of course, I am your anchor man, Chris Anu. Good evening to Ground Zero and to Ground One, and all of you out there in the diaspora. It's a pleasure once more to come to you. Please, for those of you who are tuned in by way of Facebook, please go ahead, hit your share button, Let us quickly, ladies and gentlemen, populate this platform. This promises to be a very, very exciting broadcast today. So please go ahead, hit your share button. I'm going to be having with me the Vice President, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, joining me shortly, ladies and gentlemen. So please, if you are joining again by way of Facebook, please go ahead and hit that share button. Go ahead and hit that share button. Within the next 5 minutes, let's hit 1K. 1K right here on Facebook. I would like to welcome all of you from Asia, China, Singapore, South Korea, and of course, the Middle East. Those of you in Abu Dhabi, what do they call it? What is the name of that country again? Dubai. Thank you for joining. All of you joining also from Europe, from the UK, from Canada, the USA, South America. Thank you for tuning in. Do me a favor and go ahead and hit your share button, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and hit your share button while I get ready to bring you this very exclusive interview with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. I'm talking about Dr. Harrison Abongwa. But before I get there, ladies and gentlemen, I like to do some housekeeping before I get there. I like Ground Zero to know the revolution, the struggle is moving on. The struggle is moving on. Even when it is struggling, we must not forget we are marching forward. We are marching forward. So please, again, those of you joining by way of Facebook, I want to see the numbers jumping. If you are joining or you have joined, go ahead, hit your share button. Go ahead, hit your share button. Let's get the numbers jumping, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very, very important interview with VP Abongwa. And let me also remind you that on Friday, we're going to be having one of those days here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be having one of those powerful shows here at ABS. I'm going to be having two foreign ministers joining me right here on set at ABS. And I bet you it will help us. What you learn from them, what you hear from them is going to teach us, is going to inspire us. And when I say us, I mean all of us Ambazonians who are fighting for a country of our own. So do not go anywhere on Friday. You got to be here on Friday. I may not put out a poster, ladies and gentlemen, for obvious reasons. I may not put out a poster, but take this to the bank. It's going to be really, really big here on the Friday. Please go ahead, hit that share button before I come to you with this presentation proper. And I hope that the Vice President is watching and is also joining the broadcast by now. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I bring him in, I have a few things to bring to you. I got a few things that I like to bring to you before I bring Dr. Abongwa here. First, CDC. We got up this morning, saw the convocation from the colonial government in Yaoundé, summoning the general manager of CDC to the criminal, they call it, the criminal tribunal. Criminal tribunal in Yaoundé. I think that will be February 17. We have not heard or learned the reason for the summons, but we know that many things have been happening within the CDC. Not only has production dropped drastically, I was reading an article this morning and it suggested that from 17,000 employees, it has slid to just a little over 400 employees due to this conflict between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon, ladies and gentlemen. That is the information that I read this morning. I do not know how accurate that information is, but if that is true, that is abysmal. In fact, I also learned that the CDC is looking forward to filing bankruptcy. Again, it's unfortunate what is going on. And La République du Cameroon just continues to pay a blind eye, ladies and gentlemen. La République du Cameroon continues to pay a blind eye. They are certainly not attributing what is happening at CDC to this conflict, the economic sabotage that Ambazonia Restoration Forces have enforced on the ground. So we are very much waiting to hear what these summons at the criminal tribunal, military or criminal tribunal, I hope I got the name right, in Yaoundé, with his CDC general manager, is all about. We are waiting to know what it is all about. But if you have information out there, please do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to let us here know what that summons is all about. However, we must say it is when somebody of the general manager status is summoned to appear before the criminal tribune in La République du Cameroon, I mean, you know what that means, and you know what that involves. So again, we are really patiently waiting to hear what this is all about. What this is all about. We have heard of allegations of CDC having dealings with some people out there. We are waiting also to find out whether this is in connection, whether these summons to appear before La République du Cameroon has anything to do with those connections, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we wait to see the outcome of it. We wait to see the outcome of it. All right, so that is it about CDC, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I am waiting for you to hit that share button. I want to see 1K before I bring in the Honorable Vice President, Dr. Harrison Abongwa, to join this broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now, let me move to the next subject that has to do with what I call the moment of decision. What I call the moment of decision, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, very important also. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Ambazonians from all nooks and crannies are expected to meet in a constituent assembly, a virtual constituent assembly, and this meeting is very important, ladies and gentlemen, because of the breakup orchestrated by Dr. Samuel Ekomesako. Now, you all know that the interim government is now broken into factions. A third faction, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Samuel Ekomesako, just as Sisiko did, has now broken the interim government into another piece. The question that we've heard from everyone out there is, what is the way forward? What is the Restoration Council doing? What are we, the people, doing? So, you want to participate and take part in the decision, in the way forward, ladies and gentlemen, then you have to be in this meeting tomorrow. You have to be in this meeting tomorrow to take part, contribute to the way forward. That is what this meeting tomorrow is all about. We're going to discuss about what next to do. Some people have suggested the moment has come to send a stronger message to the Restoration Council, and I have a monologue that I'm going to be bringing to you in this respect. But again, we want everybody, every Ambazonian, for as long as you are an independentist, please, from ground zero, from Asia, from Europe, from South America, from Canada, from the United Kingdom, from the Middle East, we are asking you to join the meeting tomorrow, the APP meeting tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And the time has changed. The time has changed from 9 p.m. to 8 p.m. The time has changed from 9 p.m. to 8 p.m. And actually, I understand that the Zoom will be open before 8 p.m. The Zoom room will be open before 8 p.m. So, and the Zoom can only hold, I think, about a maximum of 500 people, which means if you come in late, you may not be able to get in. In order to secure your seat at the Zoom meeting tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you log in not later than 8:30 p.m. Amber, because I believe the enthusiasm for that meeting. Many people will storm that place, and you come in late when it is full. The Zoom will not allow you in. Please help us pass this message to everybody out there, especially those who want to be in the meeting. Again, there are no restrictions. Even if you belong to Sisiko faction and you are an independentist, come into that meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambazonia is for all of us, all of us, all of us. Let's put our voices together and decide on the way forward, considering that the Restoration Council is just not doing what it is expected to do, ladies and gentlemen. The Restoration Council is failing Ambazonians. And so the meeting tomorrow is critical. We will discuss SACCO's breakup, and we will discuss, ladies and gentlemen, the laxity of the Restoration Council and what should be done. We should never forget. Ambazonians, listen to the sound of my voice. You should never forget. This struggle is not about anybody in the interim government. This struggle is not about any institution in the interim government. This struggle is about you, about you. It is your families that are being killed out there. It is your homes that are being destroyed out there. And so when people put in places of responsibility refuse to do their jobs, it is incumbent upon you, the people to take over and call the shots and decide what goes on. That is what this meeting tomorrow is all about, ladies and gentlemen. So please come in tomorrow. Come in tomorrow and sit on the table and participate in decision making for the way forward for this interim government and the struggle for our independence. Very, very critical. Again, the meeting is not starting at 9 p.m. The meeting shall be starting at 8 p.m., but you got to sign in on or before 8 p.m. because you come late, the Zoom may reject you because it may be full. Once it gets to capacity, it can no longer, it automatically shut out people. It can no longer take any more people coming in. So you want to secure your seat, come there, be there on time. Very, very important. Very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me now talk a little bit about AFCON. AFCON, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that AFCON is now history. AFCON is now history. I am sure you all are aware of that. I understand the last match, AFCON's last match, will be played on the 29th. That is about 3 days from today in Victoria. And that will be the end of it. The rest of the matches will take place, I guess, between Douala and Yaoundé. Now, I say this to bring to your attention the fact that all the noise we made, including myself, to make sure that this thing never took place in Ambazonia was empty. Not because we wanted it so or knew that it was empty, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely not. This interim government is made up of the Defense Department. And we also have the ANSC, Ambazonia National Security Council, ANSC, Ambazonia National Security Council. These are two organs that were responsible for making sure AFCON, like Chan, did not take place in our territory. But both organs failed us. I will not say both organ. I will not put the ANSC in here because I actually understand their desire and the effort they put on the table, ladies and gentlemen, to see that AFCON was stopped in Ambazonia. The interim government just did not support their initiatives. When you have a budget of just $25,000, ladies and gentlemen, a budget of just $25,000, and you are given $5,000 to do the job that $25,000 would do, and you are given those funds weeks, I think it was 3 weeks or 2 weeks, to the matches, ladies and gentlemen, what can you do? What can you do? So I will take out the ANSC out of this. I will vindicate them of any responsibility for the failure of AFCON in Ambazonia, ladies and gentlemen. I will hold the Defense Department, however, and the President, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sako Ekome, and the committee he created for FACO to manage FACO responsible for the failure of AFCON in Ambazonia. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our failure. It is not like the Republic of Cameroon's failure. It is our failure. That's why I call it failure. The failure of AFCON in Ambazonia. I think the moment for accountability is here. The moment for accountability as far as AFCON is concerned is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am calling upon those, and I will wish every one of you out there, every Ambazonian out there at home and in the diaspora, to begin to hold the government to account for all the monies raised, ladies and gentlemen, to stop AFCON from taking place in Ambazonia. The moment has come. In the coming days, I'm going to bring the FACO team here. Yeah, in the coming days, I will bring the FACO team here. I would also like to invite the Defense Department here. I know they will not come. They like to go to ABC where nobody questioned them, all right? That's where they like to go. But I would like to invite the Defense Department here. We want to know, ladies and gentlemen, because stopping AFCON, I don't think money had anything to do with it. But if we voted for money and donated money, all the counties were made to donate money to stop AFCON in Victoria. We have not heard a single gunshot in Victoria while those marches went on. Not a single gunshot. And that is the county of Mola Sako, ladies and gentlemen, the president, the outgoing president. That is his county. How do you want to lead Ambazonia without leading your own county in this struggle? I think the time has come for us to begin to ask this question. If any county leader cannot lead his or her county, they should not be called leaders. And if you call yourself a president and you cannot lead your own county, talk less of your own LGA, which is TICO, you should not be a leader. You should not be a leader. The least we expected in Victoria, ladies and gentlemen, was to see one RPG, one big stick, crumbling those infrastructure to the effect that they moved the marches to their territory. Not a gunshot. Not a gunshot was heard in Victoria. Now, in 3 days, it will be history. And the history will be that AFCON, like Chan, took place in Ambazonia. The Republic of Cameroon will jump to the media, international media. Oh, what a success it was. We told you there is no war. There is no war in Ambazonia. Did you hear even a gunshot? No, of course not. How do you argue against that, ladies and gentlemen? Again, but in another show or number of shows, we will get to the bottom of this. Now we need to know. I have been told how many times money was taken from the treasury for AFCON. I mean the treasury of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. I have been told how many times, to the extent that some of the people in the treasury, they are agitating how many times money is taken out of the treasury for AFCON and not a gunshot is heard in Victoria during those matches. We've got to get to the bottom of this. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I will take you to my monologue. I will take you to my monologue for the day. And after the monologue, I will bring in the vice president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, ladies and gentlemen. And I title this monologue, Stop the Double Standard. Again, the subject is Stop the Double Standard, fellow Ambazonians. After a heated debate 3 weeks ago, during a Constituent Assembly of the APP meeting, the overwhelming majority of those of you present voted in support of the motion to impeach Dr. Mola Sako as President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The motion of impeachment was then formally delivered to the Restoration Council, where a vote of impeachment was supposed to have been tabled, debated, and then voted last Saturday at its General Assembly meeting. The vote was never brought up in that meeting. Instead of the vote, two manipulative, or call it filibuster, arguments came up. One, that Mola Sako be first interviewed on the allegations against him. And the second, most controversial of all, that Sako be given another chance to unite the people. On these 2 points, the meeting was adjourned. They arose without giving any timeline as per when these two targets will be met. Nor did they say when the next meeting will be convened to table the impeachment vote. But as far as these two targets are concerned, ladies and gentlemen, maybe, just maybe, one is deserving. That is, Sako deserves to be heard about the multiple felonious and the treasonable allegations that have been gathered against him. But this is the problem. The Restoration Council appears to just want to play to the gallery. The Restoration Council leadership is looking for the avenue to dismiss the allegations and then default to, let's give Sako a chance to build unity. They will invite Sako to a little meeting of 1 or 2 or 3 are gathered together. They will then exchange pleasantries, then ask him a few questions. Sako will deny the charges and then demand for evidence. The Restoration Council will pretend that no evidence really exists. They will bring the meeting to an end and then return to their chambers to tell the rest of the members that Sako has denied the charges, all of them, and that, as it stands, they don't have enough evidence with which to carry on with a vote of impeachment. The only option left, they will say, is reconciliation. Reconciliation to help Sako unite the interim government. Fellow Ambazonians, when the Constituent Assembly of the APP voted for impeachment, it wasn't solely because of Sako's felonious and treasonable allegations. And neither was the motion some kind of effort to force Sako to talk about uniting the interim government. Not at all. It isn't the place of the Restoration Council to play Sako's cards of induced unity when truly there is no real meaning to it. The Restoration Council must be made to understand the language of the impeachment motion. The people didn't ask for some mediation or negotiation with Sako. They demanded for an up or down vote on the matter. The APP Assembly followed exactly the same process that was used to impeach Sisiko Ayoktabe. And I note here, ladies and gentlemen, for the record, that Ayoktabe, apart from warnings asking him to desist from breaking or separating the interim government, Ayoktabe never had the opportunity to defend the charges as is now being given Sako, even when Sako has committed, ladies and gentlemen, even greater offenses. The only crime that Sisiko committed was breaking up the interim government. Dr. Sako has done just the same thing. He has divided the interim government. Thanks to the people standing up to him, he could have by now disbanded the APP too. Ladies and gentlemen, if breaking the interim government was good reason enough for Sisiko to be impeached, it will be total double standard for the same measure not to be applied to Dr. Sako, in spite of the fact that we all are aware of multiple severe allegations of fraud, money laundering, corruption, and breach of the Constitution against him. We need a Restoration Council that can stand beyond partisanship. We want a Restoration Council that treats all Ambazonians equally. We need a Restoration Council that is proactive too. Had the Restoration Council been doing its job, just as had Sako been doing his, we won't have to be here today in this chaos. The chaos we find ourselves today, ladies and gentlemen. I took this issue, ladies and gentlemen, to the Restoration Council. They met for hours upon hours, and from weeks to months, talking or interviewing so-called witnesses. What came out of it? What came out of it? Nothing, and I mean zero. Never did they produce a single sheet of paper or recommendations. It escalated to the presidential scandal that we now see that engulfs Sako and preoccupies all of us today. The people have spoken, yet the Restoration Council still want to manipulate the decision of Ambazonians. I'd like to bring to the attention of the Restoration Council members the fact that they are put there by the people of Ambazonia. And the people have spoken. They want action. They want a vote on impeachment, not lobby and negotiation to impose Mola Sako on the people of Ambazonia. He has proven his incompetence. If the impeachment vote doesn't happen within the next 1 week, ladies and gentlemen, within the next 1 week, Ambazonians will have the right to recall the Restoration Council, send them back to their constituencies, and we start all over again. if at any moment, any arm of the interim government becomes a stumbling block, playing the double standard that we are now witnessing in the Restoration Council, it must be recalled and shut down. Everyone in Ambazonia, home and abroad, is a stakeholder in this struggle. If Sisiku was impeached because he broke the interim government, Sako has done the same and even more. Must be impeached also. Kill this double standard. I am addressing the Restoration Council, ladies and gentlemen. And that was my monologue. In this subject of the Restoration Council is heart-wrenching, ladies and gentlemen. We have an organ, or two organs of the government. In fact, all the organs of the government. I am talking about the executive, the ethics committee, the judiciary committee, the Restoration Council. They have all failed Ambazonia because they don't work. Only last Saturday, the Restoration Council stated that Barrister John Frunso and Barrister Tim Besa do not qualify as leaders of the restoration of the Judiciary Council because they have never been voted. So that means we don't have a Judiciary Council. It doesn't exist. The Ethics Committee has never been constituted. They are not supposed to be appointees of the executive, ladies and gentlemen. It is not supposed to be. Essentially, they are non-functional. The Restoration Council, non-functional. They meet and meet in meetings for hours, weeks, months. They just had a meeting last Saturday. And they discuss on a number of things. You think they will come out and put out a statement to Ambazonian people to say, we discuss on these issues, we are coming back to it, we are coming back, this is our position, this is our decision, we are doing this or doing that. Not a single piece of statement out there from the Restoration Council. Ladies and gentlemen, this struggle is all about all Ambazonians, and when they fail to work, you must take it over. And the moment has come, the time is now to get rid of all these institutions, start again, bring everybody together, let us start again. And I think tomorrow is going to determine this. Again, I want to remind all of you for the APP meeting that is coming up tomorrow, every one of you from around the globe, please log in to join the meeting. Ask for the link in your forum. Now, we understand that Sako is calling for what a unity meeting so-called tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. We are waiting to see where the members of the Restoration Council will be. The counties have written. We are waiting to see where the county chairs shall be. But Ambazonians, listen to the sound of my voice. These are all figureheads. These are all figureheads. We are waiting to see whether members of the Restoration Council will join you to be with you with the people, or they will join Sako to be with a government they have declared illegal. In fact, they refuse to vote. They refuse to vote the appointees of Sako, ladies and gentlemen. We are waiting to see where they will be. If they will not be in the APP meeting tomorrow, the moment has come to disband that thing. If it doesn't work, put it away. Let's be pragmatic here and proactive, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you. I have to get now to the Vice President, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to have the Vice President in the House. Now, for about 3 months, the interim government has been embroiled in internal crisis that has seen so many things, unfortunately, taking place within the interim government, to the extent that we now have a break where Sako has walked away to form his own faction of the interim government, and he is now trying to consolidate power. Meanwhile, the majority of us, we have said it is not going to happen. This interim government will not be divided. This interim government will remain a single piece, ladies and gentlemen. But in the midst of this, the vice president has been damn silent to my liking. And for the first time, he is breaking the record and coming on to join me to talk about why he has been very, very silent, ladies and gentlemen, for all these months that we saw the struggle. We saw the struggle embroiled in crisis. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the Vice President, Dr. Harrison Abongwa. Dr. Abongwa, what a privilege to have you here, sir. It's great to see you. Good evening, sir. I believe it is evening from your end.
Hello, good evening, Secretary Chris, dear ABS televiewers, my fellow Ambazonian citizens. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you tonight. And Secretary Chris, thanks for the invitation. I hope we'll be able to have some smooth talk and give clarity to our people. I'll take this advantage immediately to extend greetings to Ground Zero, 21 gun salute, 21 plus and 21 plus to our ARFs. We are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. VP. Again, it's a privilege to have you on board. You know, so much has gone under the table recently, and Ambazonians have been wondering, where have you been? You are aware that the outgoing president, Dr. Mola Sako, recently made some changes in his cabinet and substituted your position. He now says he has appointed somebody to replace you. And even after that, you did not come out to make a statement. If I may like to ask, why have you remained very, very quiet in spite of what has been going on?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Secretary Chris. I think it's our duty by way of the mandate we have to protect the progress of our liberation struggle, I would say on a 360 degrees perspective. And this entails also having that notion, that caution, and that diligent thinking on when it is appropriate to address certain issues publicly. This probably entails also working to see that we address the issues before they maybe get out of hand. So yeah, my silence has always been backed by three things. One is, I think in one of my shows with you, Secretary Chris, I made mention we would always work to ensure that we don't give the enemy the least possibility to get close to our brains. And then the second reason, in as much as we are faced with challenges that affect our moral upkeeping, I'm talking about fallacies, conspiracies, blackmails, fabrications, insults, in so long as they don't affect the prosecution of our liberation struggle, in ground zero. And what I mean by this, in so long as they don't cost a life, there's that tendency not to give any listening ear to it. So that's the second reason for my silence, Secretary Chris. The third is more of an administrative reason. By way of taking positions, taking stance on very delicate issues, leadership has till date tried to work in such a way that we avoid having contrasting views. And in such cases, we maintain an observational status to give the go ahead for one opinion or one approach, to give it a trial. So in such situations, like it has happened, I would say in the management of the FACO crisis, one of us takes a strategic step back to allow the prosecution or the management to the order in order to avoid having contrasting views. So I would say the three reasons for my silence. But with respect to where we are today, yes, I weighed very much the force and for the against. Received calls, messages, you have to speak up, you have to take a stand on this. But I strategically analyzed events based on how much we had been working to see that the issues that have now deteriorated be addressed backstage. And then, of course, you would understand there's that need for me to also make some clarity. I put out my testimony in the Restoration Council, I think 2 days back. I rendered that public because there has been a one-sided narrative with accusations. But then, being an insider, having an in-depth knowledge of the facts, of the dynamics of the events, I felt that addressing some of the malpractices and the deceptions out there would put our citizens in a position of making an informed judgment. And most specifically, Secretary Grace, we are here to assure ground zero. That is the reason for which I'm breaking this silence. To assure ground zero that whatsoever we are undertaking, the chaos, it is all an issue of accountability and dysfunctionality of the system. It should not be perceived as a threat to our efforts to render the necessary resources for them to prosecute this liberation struggle. Rather, the assurance that we would be giving them is by the time we consolidate and stabilize our revolutionary machinery, we should be able to put at their disposal sufficient resources to prosecute this liberation war. So we would do everything to ensure that we are not here to enrich ourselves, but we are here to strategize and make available the resources to prosecute the liberation struggle in ground zero.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we continue, I'd like to ask you 6 quick questions coming from some allegations in the social media. Number 1, are you a doctor?
Uh, I'm, uh, I'm a certified surgeon in active service.
All right. Certified
I
surgeon
don't know if I
in
should say something
active.
more.
Okay. Uh, the next one. Are you the son of a certain late minister of transport in La Republic du Cameroon? I have read this in the social media, the allegation that you are a son to a former minister of transportation in La Republic du Cameroon. Is that allegation true?
No, that was brought to my attention. To whosoever is putting that up, my surname is Abongwa. That minister's surname is Bongwa.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's good for you.
Okay, all right. If I may ask, have you, in your capacity as the vice president, ever received gifts or called any Ambazonian citizens to ask for favors, gift favors?
Uh, Secretary Chris, I think in the testimony which I rendered in the Restoration Council, I think this same question or something of this sort should have been clarified. But for the purpose of this interview and for the need for clarity, the answer is no. I have not. I have never called any Ambazonian citizen to request for financial assistance. Neither have I received a gift in my capacity as the vice president. Our citizens are all listening to me, so if there is any one person who has ever rendered a favor, a financial favor to the office of the vice president, I would challenge him to speak up.
How would you measure the level of your loyalty as the to the president, Dr. Sako? How would you measure your level of loyalty to him?
But first thing, Secretary Chris, my loyalty is to the cause. My loyalty is not to an individual. So maybe that question should be rectified. But then I would
But you can
say
imagine
my
the people
level of
out.
engagement,
Okay.
I work with the president for Ambazonia. I don't work with the president for the president. So I work with the president for Ambazonia. I don't work either for the president for Ambazonia. So that issue of loyalty or allegiance, I would categorically plead it be relayed exclusively to our cause, to the cause, and that is the plight,
Why would you
an
say so, though?
independent
Because
Ambazonia.
people out there will say, but he appointed you.
Yes, Secretary Chris, but I don't think our loyalty should be poured on an individual, but it should be to the institution prosecuting the liberation struggle.
Okay. There have been allegations out there that you stop ABC from being audited, and equally that you stop HSS, the Department of Health and Social Services, from being audited. Can you clarify us? Did you do that?
Again, the answer is no. You are the Secretary of State for Communications and IT. If there was any such directive or instructions coming from me, I think you should have been aware. Or maybe you wrote something to that effect. And equally, HSS have never made any request or given any instructions for them not to be audited. I'm not the Controller General.
Did the
So I don't
Comptroller
get from
General
where that
ever,
that is coming from. I had this question. Probably I don't know those who sent you the questions. I had this same question in the Restoration Council.
did the Comptroller General ever contact you for uh, to audit ABC or HSS?
No, and I don't think I was the one to be contacted. The Controller General, by way of his analysis, deems it necessary to audit any department. I don't think it's of the Vice President to give that instruction. He maybe could suggest, and we approve, but I've never received any request for the need for ABC or HSS to be audited, in which I sanctioned a no to it.
So, in your opinion, why do you think these allegations are making the rounds out there?
Well, there's much to talk on this, Secretary Chris. Where we are today, it's a vicious cycle. The trend has been that of where you have that mindset of bigotism, the inability to accommodate differences in opinion, and the solution becomes that of isolating. And of course, to take you to that isolation, and I'm talking both physical and verbal isolation. So you have either ejection or removal from fora, you have orchestrating blackmails, and then it transitions to closed door meetings in which your personality or integrity is being castigated in your absence for whatsoever reason. I would term it for bigotism.
All
Or
right, let's delve
when
into
we
the
have
issue.
something, I didn't get your place.
Let's delve into the real issues at stake here. Uh, in your opinion, or what in your opinion are the problems in the cabinet that led to where we are at the moment, the chaos we see at the moment? What are those problems? Can you articulate them, please?
Yeah, Secretary Chris, I think you've been a member in that cabinet. Uh, I presume most of our fellow cabinet members are watching this show. And yes, it's appropriate that we present the real picture of what our cabinet, thus the engine that should be fueled to pilot this liberation struggle, how it functions, what atmosphere do we have in that cabinet. And I will just try to identify some specific aspects that I would term rendered the cabinet dysfunctional. It's not about having a physical cabinet, it's about its functionality. So, we had issues of disrespect of protocol. Disrespecting protocol impairs the smooth running or coordination of any government activity. Then there were issues of bypass of due process. Now, if in a cabinet we have a core or a clan of individuals who claim, and not really claim, I would say, because as per where we are today, they stated that they report to the president, bypassing the offices beneath the president. Now, in such situations, in my position as the vice president, when situations get tied up and you are requested to intervene, what level of administrative hierarchy do you follow to manage such problems? It becomes difficult because the subordinates claim and there is no contrary statement to that position coming from the president that they report to the president. And I'm saying this, I would use an example in the draft. The 2020 draft was coordinated in a broad-based manner, meaning all actors who were involved were consulted from time. They were involved and they had specific duties to undertake. Now, when we shift to the 2021 draft, where the coordination is being delegated to two individuals, practically, that's what I would say, we saw the migration from the 2020 draft, in which I don't think we ever skipped one draft session, to this year's draft, in which we apparently got to the end of the year struggling and battling to draft some counties. But there were issues that were raised with respect to the coordination of this draft in the cabinet. And the reply that you had from these individuals was, we were ready. I'm making reference here to the Bui draft, in which Bui was about to be drafted in just 3 days. And when I came up, you were in the cabinet, Secretary Chris, with a write-up asking if all the boxes had been checked. The answer was yes. But that same night, the Bui chair was not even aware. So these are the consequences of the
So
disrespect
you are
and
saying
bypass
3
of
days
protocol.
to the draft, Bui was supposed to be drafted, but the Bui chair was not even informed, wasn't aware, didn't participate in the
Factual.
plannings.
Factual.
Okay.
Then other issues related to the dysfunctional status of our cabinet is the lack of appropriate consultations. Now, be it advice, be it consultations, these are prescribed even constitution on specific, or I would say on national issues, policy issues, directives that involve the people. We are expected to be consulted. There are a couple of examples, but you saw the situation in which, making reference here to the appointment of Mr. John Funso as the spokesperson per interim.
Right.
There's the message which I sent in the cabinet that went out. And in that message, I was virtually saying who was consulted, which cabinet was consulted, which restoration council was consulted.
Though Sako had put out a statement indicating that after consulting with members of the Restoration Council and
That's the
the
reason for
vice
which
president, he made that appointment. Of course, I know these things, but for the interest of those who are listening to us, are you saying that you were not consulted for the appointments?
No, I was not consulted. And just a correction, please. The appointment letter did not carry the vice president was consulted. It said
Okay.
prior to consultation of the Restoration Council and the cabinet.
The
None were
cabinet, correct.
consulted. We even had a frontal exchange by messaging in the cabinet until I had to call his attention to the fact that in that message, you are saying the Restoration Council was consulted, but the chairman of the Restoration Council replied negative. And in that message, I am saying, please, for objective, professional, and confidential reasons, that appointment could not hold. The issue is, yeah, that message went out as a contrary position, but already by the way of the fact that I was writing such a message, it means I was not consulted. But then go and look into it. What were the confidential reasons? When we had this exchange, I wrote to the president, check your Telegram messages to get the confidential message. He came back into the cabinet after reading my message and said, let's talk. I'll come to that later on what the confidential message was.
All right. Uh, Go
So
on,
that's
please. So
it.
we are talking about the problems
Lack
in the
of
cabinet.
No, I think there are other issues. There is also the aspect of uh, escaping from problems, denial of the existence of problems, which, yes, at times might help to really get an understanding of the problem. But the modus operandi has been that of escaping from the problem and then, maybe going to pray that the problems will be swept under the carpet. But these same problems keep haunting us, and rather they keep deteriorating. And that's where we are today. Then another aspect of dysfunctionality of the cabinet has been that of a sort of divide, isolate, and rule. Of course, if we want to talk about divide, isolate, and rule, and talking on bigotism, where are we today? In a cabinet of about 28, 8 cabinet members are out. Do we list them? You are one of them, Secretary Chris.
Yes.
The chair of the Presidential Advisory Council is out. The deputy secretary of the Department of Home Affairs and Community Mobilization is out. The deputy secretary for the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration is out. The Controller General resigned. No talks on that. The chair of the National Auditing Committee is out of the cabinet. Do I go on listing it? There should be about 8. So that's the tendency. Isolate, get a close call, feed your agenda, blackmail, and then you hope to guide the people in that manner. And that's why I stated it. It's divide, isolate, and rule. And I want you to take note of what I said. Rule, not lead the people.
So, essentially, it was a one direction cabinet again. Of course, I wish I could recuse myself and not do this interview, but being that I was there, I saw it, I tried my own way. I am essentially part of it. It's a little bit difficult to do this interview because I know most of what you are saying here. But then others outside who have no idea will say, what did you do as the vice president when you came across all of this?
Yeah, I would say, Secretary Chris, in a couple of instances, not one, not two, not three, I had made it clear to the president that the issue was calling to order. Because I would be honest with you, we all have character issues, which at times, might be pulled by emotions and we act contrary to what we would have done in a composed state. Now, in such situations, I hardly want to ever judge any individual. That's why, irrespective of whatsoever action comes from the cabinet member, my belief was that being committed patriots, which means by way of their actions, you've seen their engagements or their professional contributions in prosecuting this liberation struggle, where the differences in certain situations came in was associated more to the characters. And you would presume in such a situation, the president should have a good acquaintance of his cabinet members. That's why I always insisted more on solving the issues by calling to order. Because in the cabinet, this has deteriorated, and the negative energy in the cabinet, as per my judgment, and which I told the president, was more by the character of our sister, Madam Iringwa. But then, for specific reasons which he gave, which I would comment later, that call to order never came. Even after receiving very derogatory audios from her to my personality, the president would still sit and expect that, we just accommodate her. It's just your integrity. That negative energy ate the cabinet because of our inability to call to order when it was requested. So, if you're asking what I did, I would say that's the first thing. In my discussions with the president, I tried, and it was not easy, Secretary Chris. I tried as much as possible to hold firm on that fact, call her to order at least 3 times. In one of the cases, I left a very hard message to the president. I think you were still in the cabinet by then when I was tasked for giving the president an ultimatum. That was related to a question that he calls Mr. Irene. That call to order never came. And that is now. Now, the other issue is getting the president to address the root cause of problems. If you see where we are today, his actions are addressing the consequences. There is a specific statement that was made to the president. Madam Iringwa will pull you into her mess. It's not only the president that has been pulled into her mess. All of us. All of us. And what is the president strategically addressing? The consequences, because this led to the radicalization of the cabinet members. Once you are unable to call to order, who else would you call to order? But then, of course, all the other members were being kicked out of the cabinet. That's equity. That's fair judgment. That's a proactive leadership. That's a solution solving president. Yes, so 8 out of about 28 members have either abandoned, been ejected, or resigned. So what is being addressed today are the consequences, not the root cause, because there's probably a denial to it. And then the third thing, what did I do? Based on the evolution of events, a specific SWOT was done on all the departments to identify the issues that were hampering progress. Because it's not only about maintaining a status quo, it's about are we progressing? So, in my request to the president, I think you should have heard that when I asked him to trace time for us to talk 2, 3 hours, there was a specific program that I wanted to discuss with him. That's what will be termed recalibration. We never had those talks, but the recalibration will be undertaken because that's what would give stability to this liberation struggle, accountability to our people.
We will get to that,
And most
Mr. Vivi. We will
especially,
get to
I
the
beg your pardon, the last
accountability.
thing, Secretary Chris, most especially, it would render the resources to the appropriate quarters, that is, our fighters on the ground.
Can you hold on with that? We will get to that shortly. But I'd like to ask you, you cut off your presence from the presidential forum, every department, including communications, HSS, defense, resource mobilization, every department in the government, they have their office, their virtual office, and it is called a forum. Now, you had cut off your presence, walked out of the presidential forum about, I think about 6 months or so, or 4 months or so before I walked out of cabinet.
Yeah, so what's your question, Secretary Chris? You wanted to know the reasons?
Yeah, you had walked out of there, and you had also walked out of another forum that was supposed to be executive forum. You were essentially severing communication between you, the president, and that office. But nobody was aware of it. I'm essentially saying that you had essentially severed communication a long time, ever before going to the Restoration Council, and even before I walked out of cabinet.
Yeah, I get your question, but
Yeah, what was
maybe
behind
that's
that?
yeah, I get your question. Yeah, but maybe that's not exact. I would give you two settings. Now, what you're referring to 6 months back was when we agreed to transition to Telegram.
Yeah.
So that's when I left all the WhatsApp fora. And the only
You never
WhatsApp fora
returned.
in which
You left and you didn't
I didn't get you,
return.
please. Yes, because the request was for security reasons that we transition to Telegram, especially myself and the president. So we're only on Telegram. So maybe that's when you notice that. But then, with respect to the office of the president, I left the Telegram forum because it was uh, it was just a static working space.
What do you
Nothing
mean by
was
that?
being discussed. Static means you just create it and it's there.
Okay.
If you go back as far as a year and a half ago, the office of the president was created and the first meeting was convened by myself after about 6 months. So it's just a dormant a space that's just there. So I didn't find any reason to hang in there. But then coming to what you're making reference to in terms of my communications with the president, I think the period was about a month, and you would be shocked to except you listen to my testimony in the Restoration Council, that you were part of the reason for which I undertook that action. Now, and I would want to explain it a bit, expatiate on it a bit more. What happened was this: in the course of the ultimate initial conflict, which was perceived as Secretary Chris, Madam Irene Wa issue, of course, you know the reasons being that when you presented this in the cabinet, the first point that you touched was related to, the attitude of Madam Iringwa. So since that presentation was interrupted, that notion of it's a Secretary Chris, Madam Iringwa issue was what was subsequently being, carried out, and that's the perception which people had. Now, in that context, in the evolution of events, one thing happened, that the president, after all the repeated calls to take an action, there was, I think you all heard it, the president's hands are tied. Coming to know why the president's hands are tied was through a communication I had with him on a call. And of course, I'm saying this because by the time I get to the end of this, it was nothing confidential, absolutely. Now, the president calls me, the vice president, and he tells me, yeah, apparently, you can't discipline a soldier without disarming that soldier. Those were his textual words.
In reference
So I
to
said,
what?
wow. In reference to why can't you take an action on Madam Irene Wa?
Okay.
So he now comes up with that reason relayed to me as a sort of, a confidential reason. Finally, this is the reason which you don't know. And that reason was because he said Madam Irengwa was a pioneer member of the board of the Ambazonia Foundation. So, potentially, if any actions were taken, she could undertake a move that could jeopardize the regulatory status of the Ambazonia Foundation. So I said, wow, if that's the case, then I think it's a tangible reason. It's good we reflect and, do or undertake an action that would not jeopardize or compromise the finances or the management of the finances of our liberation struggle. In that same context of our discussions, the president made me to understand that it was not really good that such a stance, a position, be made known to the Secretary of State of Communication, because by way of his actions, he might, anticipate some moves that would compromise his approach, which was that of, in quotes, disarm before you discipline. Now, why I'm making this premise is because in the context of receiving such a communication from the president, which kept me in reflection, what I did was, all right, I'll reflect on it. Maybe if we have a way out, I would also give my contribution. Now, three things happened after that. The first was on the platforms of our own activists. Before then, the president held a meeting with the activists with regards the ABC draft. And after that meeting, there was this total denial of the president. I don't know what transpired in that meeting. But that notwithstanding, on the platform of our brother Nanchop, there was a statement. Then the president comes and tells us it's about, Ma Iringua's membership in the Ambazonia Foundation. I say, wow, this is a confidential communication I received from the president. How come it's already there? Then, on the platform of our brother Prince Jaka, when we had the meeting with the president, he told us, that's where I connected the dots. So it was in the course of a meeting which the president had with the activists that he already told them this, very confidential reason for which his hands were apparently tied. Second step to that, I spoke with you. Maybe you never realized it. And you were probably talking on something maybe related to the ongoing crisis, but it was not directly related to the talks which you held with a certain bishop, a certain clergyman, together with the president. And when you called, you made a statement. This is what he comes and he was telling me and that pastor that the reasons his hands are tied was because Madam Iringwa was a pioneer member of the board of the Ambazonia Foundation. What a fallacy. Step back. The confidential communication said, it is not good we bring this to the knowledge of Secretary Chris for now. Let's try to manage it ourselves. Whereas Secretary Chris was informed already time back. That is the president communicating to me, confidential.
So
Third step,
essentially, he was trying to let you understand I wasn't aware that Iringwa was a member of the Ambazonia Foundation.
yes, and that was not to be brought to your knowledge because it would have been
Whereas
managed,
he had
maybe
we
not
had already
appropriately.
discussed that. So what do you think was the purpose for him trying to cover that from you? I'm telling you not
That
to
is going
discuss
to
with you.
answer your question on the reasons for the poor communication. Let me give you the third step of it. The third step is I call the National Treasury to know if there are any detrimental consequences if a member of the board of the Ambazonia Foundation is taken out. The National Treasury, that's Comrade Richard Tango, it didn't take him 1 second to give me the reply. The reply was no, nothing. So, nutshell, receiving a confidential communication from the president just to discover that there was nothing even confidential about it. And worse still, it was on an approach to solve the ongoing crisis. Does that build or demolish trust? That's what takes you to the answer of the reasons for the poor communication. But then, when I made mention of the 1 month, the reasons why I said you were connected to that 1 month was you knew how much Secretary Chris, how much I called and pleaded that you have the one-on-one talk with the president. Something happened during the ABC draft when the president apparently castigated your integrity on air. And when you called me, it was like, so this was the reason for which you were, working to get me to a talk
To have me
with
be
the
at
president.
ABC draft. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did I tell you when you called? I told you, no, Secretary Chris, please. I listened to Pat, and I will say Pat because I was at work, and I just joined the ABC, and I was following the president's speech. What I picked from there was Secretary Chris is my friend, Bishop John is my brother, the vice president is my cousin. As I said, I felt it was more a healing speech until you took the complete audio of his speech and sent to me. When I was speaking with you then, I didn't know what the complete speech was. And yes, it was a castigation. Now, how did you feel with the efforts which I made? And these efforts, please, it didn't start with you. From the first day you raised these issues in the cabinet, my first statement to the chief of staff, Prof. Ayim, and to the president, let's not get this thing out of the cabinet. And when you had the talks with that bishop, after the president finally accepted to get a one-on-one talk for this issue to be solved, my message to him was, I am very delighted. Just to get up the next day and you squander every effort of solving the problem. So with this, with your attitude, which was a bit doubting on what moves I was making, if at the same time the president is castigating you, on the side of the president, it was more of working to accommodate at all costs, Madam Aringwa. So what did I do? You should be witness to the fact that you were virtually trying to talk to the president through me, and the president was more of trying to talk to you through me. But if we had to get to a solution, the reason why the communication was interrupted for 3 weeks, and I'll tell you now, was because I isolated both of you. You should talk to yourselves. You should not talk through me. That was the reason. The president was informed. So, whereas these were 3 weeks, by the end of those 3 weeks, we were moving towards the unmasked draft, and we had some delays, another 1 week, and that's what rendered that period of isolation a month. But it was done in the light to get a solution to this problem.
I
So that's
guess so
it.
much was going on in the background that I just wasn't aware of. You will recall that I had made up my mind after Mola Sako brought in the bishop. We had decided to sit down and talk over these things and move on. But he took to the television on the occasion of that ABC draft, and he crossed the line. Now, there are things that I have not said, and I will say them when the time is appropriate. Because I guess many people out there are wondering, how did Secretary Chris just suddenly turn from working with Sako? Ladies and gentlemen, the reasons are there. When you are working with somebody and you realize the person is backstabbing you, assassinating you, there is just no reason you can trust and work with that person. He broke the trust. That's a story for a different day. Let's get to another subject. The
Yeah, Secretary Chris,
financial,
before you get to that, please, maybe
okay.
I just outline, since you asked the question, and I think it's also incumbent on me to clarify our people as to why at one point we had this poor communication between myself and the president. So I'll just try to list the reasons, because in the course of our talks, I think some of them already came up. Uh, the lack of consultation, I think that's one of the reasons. When you are not consulted, of course, there is no communication, right?
Yeah.
Then the perception of a ghost decision making body in the cabinet, when you over the time only receive directives or attend meetings with hours of directives to be executed, or in situations even where you, the vice president, receive a communication from the president and maybe would want to, just for the benefit of doubt, say it's a slip of the tongue, and you're being told we spoke, but then I'm just coming to talk with you. So it's already been decided where, and you get the embarrassment when you face the people and they ask you certain questions on decisions that have been taken out of the cabinet. The issue of distrust, I already tried to explain that with the example of having his hands tied. That created some distrust in him, if that's the type of confidential communications I received from the president. Then there is the poor communication also originated from some disaccords in the management of the Momo crisis, Ngi. Why I state these two is because there are situations in which we we wanted, or there was that tendency of leading us to act against our own laws, rules, and principles, and that to me was setting a bad precedent. And I had to, in different circumstances, request that it be petitioned higher. But then we all know what the outcome was. So, on such situations in which we put out our own principles, in the case of Momo, the CEB, that's the County Executive Bureau, and in the case of Ngi, the APP, because the elections in Guinea at the last moment, unfortunately, they changed the rules and principles. By then, we didn't have the the electoral code. But from the moment,
Mr. VP, let's do this. We
yes,
will come back to that, but I'd like us to look at one other very pressing issue here. You went to the Restoration Council and you made some severe allegations of financial impropriety, and since then you have been tagged a betrayer or traitor of outgoing President Dr. Samuel Sako. Uh, can you educate Ambazonians as to what you told the Restoration Council concerning these financial improprieties, please?
yeah, Secretary Chris. Well, let me just start with the issue of betrayal. Again, as I said, loyalty is to the cause. And if by any misconstrued perception, seeking accountability should be understood, or should compel me to be an accomplice, then so it be. I already said I work with the president for Ambazonia. I don't work for the president for Ambazonia. I work with the president. I was expecting rather to be, let me just say it, maybe applauded for calling to accountability. So any citizen who in any way, because Secretary Chris, there's one thing our people might think that certain positions are driven by emotions. No, when the stakes are high, it's based on rationality truth, factual happenings. And such positions are not easy to take. You take them for Ambazonia. It's also understandable that, you know, by way of, or I would say per default, there is that entire trust in the office of the president by default. So when such issues are raised, it also embarrasses our people. But then, as I said, it would be done for Ambazonia. So target or call it betrayal, call it backstabbing. I will not be an accomplice to it. On the allegation, Secretary Chris, let me just make a premise. When I went to the Restoration Council, it was stated clear that I was on oath. It was also precised there that I was called there because previous speakers, and in this case, I would presume you, the president, and Madam Irengwa, these previous, all of them were saying, ask the vice president, ask the vice president, ask the, you listen to the testimony, you will get that statement there. And then I asked if I was aware of allegations. Of course, the answer was yes, I'm aware. And I'll tell you something before I even went to the Restoration Council. I had just a couple of allegations. I think 4 allegations of some things. But a week before going to Restoration Council, it was like a boom. Messages, calls from people. And by the time I got to the Restoration Council, even though in the audio which you listened to, I would presume, what I did was I just tried to categorize the allegations. I didn't list all of them. The allegations should be about close to 20 something.
All, and they are all
24.
financial allegations?
No,
Okay.
no, I'll get to that.
Okay.
Then one other thing, the I stated that by way of our own common law, until proven otherwise, these remain allegations. And I'm stating this because you saw the unfortunate situation where Mr. President took an external recording of that meeting, used that part of it to blackmail. Here we come again. To blackmail my personality without having a knowledge of what the whole presentation in the Restoration Council was all about. So that was stated. Now, before I dwell into the allegations that were presented, I made this position of mine clear to the Restoration Council. One of it is the one of the questions you asked. I have never received or I have never called any Ambazonian citizen using my office to solicit financial assistance for my own interest. I've never done it. So I made that clear, and I'm still making it clear here today. The second thing I told them was in terms of community assistance in the course of this our liberation struggle, I, as the vice president, have received community assistance once, and that was in the UK when I traveled there for their cultural event, and they couldn't pick me up because they were all engaged already in the hall. So for also a sort of security, they said, okay, you just arrive, take your cab, go to the hotel, and then we'll pick you from there. And they refunded that taxi fare, which I appreciated. and I donated that amount to a charity, the Friends of British Southern Cameroons. And the third stance which I made on financial issues was with respect to possession of state property. I'm in keeping of the studio, which is what I have here, the lights and whatsoever, that was offered to me by a group of our own citizens, grouped as the Ambassador team. But in that transaction, what I handed to them was my address, and everything was brought here. The procurements were done by them. The money transactions, it should be about close to 1,000. So I made these three stands very clear before I went into addressing the allegations, such that if there is any allegation coming after me, then it's simple. If your hands are clean, what are you afraid of? And now this takes me to what were the allegations that were presented. So the first thing I tried to do was to group them. I hope and
If you can
to
just
group them
mention
in
them
such
one
a way
after the
that
other for the sake of time, so we can. I don't think we have enough time to go into the details. If you can just brush through them, I
that's
think
what
that
I'm
will be
saying.
okay.
That I can't go into listing them each. I'll just tell you how they were grouped.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah. So they were grouped based on the characteristic. The first group was that of the allegations that were tantamounting to siphoning funds from the revolution. And this is the category of gifts to the office or gifts being requested by the office. And now you will still say, why bring it up now? This same category, about 2 years back, was addressed. We had a closed door meeting with the president, myself, Dr. Ellard, he was then the chief of staff, Dr. Patience Abiedu, and our late pa, his soul rest in peace, Bashe, in which we tried to address this issue with the president to stop it, to stop requesting funds from the people.
So, if I may get you
So
correctly, you are saying there was a moment, a number of you, the people you've named, had a
this
backdoor
is this is
meeting.
about 2 years back.
Okay,
This is about 2 years back.
okay, to
Maybe you never knew of it.
caution, and again, the purpose for the meeting was to caution the president from soliciting uh, public donations from individuals.
Yes, and why I'm saying this is because you realize in all the categories there was a reason for which I classified them that way, and there was a reason for which it had to be addressed
Okay,
because the president receives a stipend from the CID funds that is from the people. That's $3K. Then, if you still go ahead soliciting funds for your own private interest, that tantamounts to reducing the potential funds that should be rendered at the disposal of the fighters. So in this category, I would say I think there are nine cases of which testimonies have been received from four or five. So that was the first category. And in this category, what I suggested to the Restoration Council was to stop the abuse of gift. We should contemplate crafting a gift policy based on, I just gave an example, on two facts or two aspects, I beg your pardon. One, and this we should also make it known to our people. Maybe at times, yes, in as much as I understand, it can be very embarrassing because Secretary Chris, if I should get up and I'm picking my phone and calling or just 10 of our citizens every month, I don't think they will refuse helping me. But then some of these same, unfortunately, some who don't want to testify, cabinet members, are the ones who pick their phones to call, say, Mr. Vice President, this is a situation that has been going on with the president. Uh, Please just see how, try to contain it because it's like extending a hand, they're taking your body. And you'll be surprised with the which I gave to such reports, Secretary Chris. I told them, you are corrupt. You are corrupt. When things were fine, you didn't inform me this is what was happening. But you are coming out to tell me, and you are telling me to manage it discreetly. So in this category, as I said, I suggested that we should craft a gift policy such that if our citizens, yes, it's good to appreciate for whatever services we render, even though we all say we render them pro bonus. But if we were to give a limit and direct all the funds to the National Treasury. Are you happy with what Secretary Chris is doing? You want to appreciate Secretary Chris? Send it to the National Treasury such that whether you have $1,000 there and we tell you at the end of the month you can take only 50 there because that money goes there for your portfolio, that would automatically discourage you from doing it. So the approach was a problem which was not presented just today, as I gave you the example. It's something that had been handled 2 years back, but it went ahead. So we had to come to address it, and I equally gave a solution, a potential solution, because I'm not saying they accepted that solution. I suggested a solution. So that's the first category of the allegations which are presented. The second category was that which I termed the category of lack of accountability or delayed accountability. And then in this category, there was not, there were more on things that our own people have been asking. How are we managing the CID funds? What about the 20% from the counties? What about the presidential basket? What about the 2020 special draft that was undertaken with the notion that it was to go to assist Indian County? So these are examples of those accounting situations that were coming from our people. So I still bring you back again. If our hands are clean, what are we afraid of? And in this category, apart from this, which affect all of us in the government, Secretary Chris, apart from these, there were specific individuals in this category, of which I think two, yes, two have already submitted their testimonies, who belong to this category. Now, in this category, what I suggested to the Restoration Council was to undertake an audit. What's wrong in that? I don't see anything wrong in that. Undertake an audit. So we are accountable to the people and we build trust. The third category, I think that's the category that was more worrisome, because the allegations in this of financial misapproprieties in this category, if proven, some of them could have, treasonous charges. And I think this is the category that was troubling the president, because in one of the cases in this category, I personally was the first-hand informant to present that allegation. And I will take you back to when I made mention of the message which I wrote to the president in the cabinet to say, go check your your Telegram message, please, for the confidential reason for which the appointment of Barrister John Frunso was why I objected. This was related to one of these purported deals in which he had the communication from me through that message, where I responded to him, telling him of his involvement with Barrister John Fru in that deal, and that would render it questionable. Apart from other aspects of the appointment, being from a component of the judiciary and being appointed into the executive, with the separation of powers being breached constitutionally. So all those things were the examples, but this was related to this. So in that case, of course, these are the positions on a testimony. I will not go into the details of that, but the direct reference to that was picked up by me when he made a call to me telling me that himself and Barrister John Fru were about signing that deal. And this still brings us to consultation, Secretary Chris. Who was consulted? Who was consulted? And that was aimed at safeguarding. It was mortgaged on the basis of contracts to the sponsors, future contracts. Are future contracts not resources of Ambazonia? So we can single-handedly engage the contracts of Ambazonia without the consent of the people, or at least without consultation and consent from the core of the interim government. So that's how this was faced. And in this category, you had
VP, if I
other.
may stop you there,
Yes, please.
let's get this very clearly. Let Ambazonian people get it very, very clearly. What you have said is there was a deal, an alleged deal, and you confronted outgoing President Dr. Sako, and this deal had to do with him and Barrister John Fru and so trying to mortgage Ambazonia for a contract to which there were no consultations with the rest of the interim government. Is this correct?
Perfect.
Okay. So I guess when you say you consulted with him after the appointment of Barrister Frunso over these allegations, Ambazonians will want to know what was his response.
No, I didn't consult with him. If you read that message said, I am contrary to that appointment for objective, rational, and confidential reasons. This was the confidential reason. That the two of you are, as you relate on the phone, you were about signing a deal to mortgage contracts of Ambazonia. That's why subsequently you saw when the president put up another write-up, and he was saying he would be submitting his you're in the United States, how do you call it, personal identification number or what?
Yeah, social security number.
Social security number and his private accounts. He will receive the accounts that should be subjected to investigation.
So, again, this was, did you mention to the security, the Restoration Council, the amount that was involved in this deal?
Yes.
And what was it?
$200,000.
So the deal that was allegedly, again, we are using the word allegedly, supposed to have been signed between Barrister So and Dr. Sako was supposed to be $200,000, assuming they actually signed it.
Exact.
Now, in your conversation with him, who did he say he consulted for that deal? Because listen, this is very, very critical, because you will recall that when Cho Ayaba went to London, I think about a year or two ago, to sign a certain contract which turned out to be a hoax, Ambazonians were mad and they berated Ayaba for going out to London to unilaterally enter into a contract, a deal to mortgage the resources of Ambazonia. And our understanding was nobody in his organization had knowledge of it. Now, if Sako was doing if what Sako did, doesn't it tantamount to the same thing and even worse?
Yeah, Secretary Chris, again, you keep talking about consultation. From the moment I, as the Vice President, is the person writing to say the deal which you told me that you and Barrister John Fu were about signing, it's automatic. I was not consulted. So maybe he would refer subsequently who was consulted. But I've not spoken with him on that. Who was consulted?
Right, and that is very critical, very, very critical. Now, besides that deal, there were other deals in that category. Can you go ahead and name them, please?
Now, Secretary Chris, there is this issue. The question which I had from the Restoration Council was, are you aware of any allegations? So I presented the allegations. All what was presented, there was a reference person. Whoever brought that to my knowledge was referred to the Restoration Council Government Affairs Committee, and in the presence of the Restoration Council Finance Committee. So that's in their keeping. I can only tell you then the number of allegations which fell under this category.
Yes, go on, please.
This category was the category in which I suggested that it should be put under investigation. So there were two other allegations under this, and I think testimonies on those two have already been deposited, and that's in the keeping of the Restoration Council.
All right. Now, I believe that if anybody has to enter into any contract, any form of contract on behalf of Ambazonia, the president, the chair of the Restoration Council, or maybe the chair of the Restoration Council, the vice president, and the national treasurer should be in the know and taking part in any arrangement, any negotiations. Now, none of these people, because I have personally made my own findings, and none of these people have said, including yourself, have said they were aware or informed or part of this. We've also heard of another company being mentioned somewhere in the southern zone, to which I was directly involved, ladies and gentlemen, directly involved. But again, these were deals that were supposed to be signed or negotiations engaged in by the president, the chair of the Restoration Council, the national treasurer, the vice president. In none of these cases were any of these personalities involved. What do you make? What did you make of that?
Yeah, Secretary Chris, you're right. And again, let me just bring you back to when I had that harsh exchange with the president, and he was trying to like tell me everything is just normal. And you saw what I wrote in the message. This was brought to my attention, I think, just collaterally, because when he told me this, I said like, "Wow." And when I said "wow," it was, "Wow, is this where we are? Is this where we are? You are informing me that you and Barrister John Fuyo are about signing a 200,000 deals, mortgaging contracts, future contracts in Ambazonia.
Yeah,
Wow.
future contracts in Ambazonia for a particular
And you're
business
telling
plan.
me, and that's the reason for which you saw I replied in the message telling him whatever explanations you are giving now, I stopped you. But then it's still open for investigation. And the other issue is if we are engaging in such deals or contracts that mortgage our own resources, and I should come to know it by chance, I would say, by chance. The question is, how many other deals am I not informed of?
Right.
Are there others? So, Secretary Chris, it's challenging, embarrassing, and I see some naivety from some people, the way that they think we can approach such, you know, attitudes. Some of them even try to intimidate. In fact, some of them even try to intimidate. But then, two things. When your hands are clean, let's go for the investigations. Let's go for the audit. Let's put a gift policy. What are we afraid of when your hands are clean? So
Now,
I'm saying this to our own citizens who think that the position I took is an easy one. It is not. It is not.
now you
Even
had
the words which I used, it is not easy. But I think that is the legacy I owe the people, be it those who believe or those who wait for investigations and would get the facts clarified later. But it was not an easy position, and that position was taken for the prosecution of this liberation struggle. It was taken just for that reason. So all the intimidations, please, they won't hold any water. All the intimidations or insults or whatsoever. What I did today, I will do it tomorrow. And that legacy will be is the face of the president, Dr. Sako, the person. People who are not privy to 1/100th what I know, writing trash, sorry for that word, on Facebook or sending me messages. You don't live what I live to defend the values for which we are all recruited to free homeland. So such positions are not easy to take, but then time will tell.
all right. Now you are not against any tracking deals that come in to help the struggle, isn't it? Because when we are talking about mortgaging Ambazonia, uh, in my opinion, if those deals had materialized to help us, I think it would be a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, Secretary Chris, that's a very good question. Absolutely not. I am not contrary to, striking deals for Ambazonia. We should do more of them. We need those resources. It is the modality.
Yeah.
If the modality is questionable, then those maybe are deals that are aimed at safeguarding personal interests. Because if the aim is securing resources to prosecute our liberation struggle, who will refuse the deal, Secretary Chris? If appropriate consultations are done with the people's representative, who would be contrary to a deal? If any of these deals entail mortgaging and resources, and I'll state here resources because in the case of the example which I gave, you was said contracts are not all what the contracts of Ambazonia. We cannot sit here thousands of miles of kilometers away and we are mortgaging posterity. Contracts belong to Ambazonia. So we need the consent of the people to do it.
Yeah.
And then
When
the
I
fourth
listened,
aspect of it, there should be evidences of the use of those funds for the liberation struggle. So I think if we have these four aspects clarified, I don't think any Ambazonian citizen would be contrary. Rather, we should be all on alert to see which, you know, Godfather, as we say it, can come to our rescue. So I'm not contrary to the deals, but it should be undertaken with an appropriate approach.
yeah, exactly the way I felt because, as I said, one of that arrangement came in through me, and when I got engaged into it, I was expecting that a certain moment will come when we have arrived at some concrete agreements to then bring in the appropriate quotas like the chair of the RC, the National Treasury, the vice president, and then they will get into the know. But I was shocked. I was shocked to find out Ambazonians only recently, only because this is the way we have operated. Dr. Abongwa, you are very much aware of it. Every one of us, we try to go out there and bring in people who can help this struggle. If I am not in defense and I bring in somebody who can help us in defense, I don't have to stay in there. I leave it on the table and let the defense people deal with it. When it came to this one, I was the one contacted. I brought it to the attention of the president, put it in their hands, had one meeting discussion. I left it on the table and I walked away from it. I only found out weeks ago that there was actually a deal that was reached. Whereas I had gone back to the president to talk to him and ask him about the deal a few months after, and he said, no, what they offered was just nothing. We didn't go into it. But other people on the table have said, or are alleging there was a deal to it. So we begin to ask, the problem is not the deal. The problem is who in the interim government was in the know, was involved. The chair of the Restoration Council, did he know? Absolutely not. The National Treasurer, did he know? No, he didn't. The Vice President, did he know? Of course, you said you didn't know. And I believe that is where the problem is, because if we should be berating Dr. Cho Ayaba for sneaking to London to sign an oil deal, we should also be berating somebody among us who is trying to mortgage secretly our resources. But let me get to the next question here. We'll try to run up quick so I can open the phone lines for a few phone calls from from Ambazonians. From Ambazonians. Now, let me ask you this. What has finally pushed you to coming out to talk now? Because again, when we began this interview, I mentioned the fact that you had essentially pulled out of some forums or fora, and all these things were going on. You said nothing, you were not vocal. Even in the cabinet forum, you said little. But now you have come up. Is it right to say you are talking now because Sako picked a replacement for you?
Yeah, Secretary Chris. Now, if I'm here, I think I gave you the premises upon which my silence is built or built. I'm not here to address people about the attitude of Dr. Sako. If you listen to the second reason for my silence, in so long as an issue is not affecting the prosecution of our liberation struggle, especially in ground zero, it would be a character issue. Why should I address it? What brought me to this point is the consequences of his attitude, not his attitude. What attitude has brought to this liberation struggle. So the, the qualities, his qualities are fast becoming an entrenchment to the detriment of the struggle. I think based on what we expressed in some of the questions that you asked, we are talking about a bigotism. We are talking about a conflict. We are talking about a blackmailer. We are talking about Machiavellism. We are talking about autocracy, or you want to term it an opportunist. This is what we are talking about. And these qualities void any pedigree of leadership. There are hard words. There are hard words, but that's what it is. They are backed by his actions. And where is it bringing us to? The divisive leadership, which we are all experiencing. So I think that's how I can answer that question.
All right. You listen to, I guess you listened to my monologue before I brought you in, and I spoke extensively about the inability of the Restoration Council to resolve these problems, just as the president will not. Uh, the people of Ambazonia 2 weeks ago put out a motion for impeachment at the Restoration Council. The Restoration Council is yet to table it for a vote. What is your take on the way the Restoration Council has been handling this issue?
Yeah, Secretary Chris, I listened to your monologue. Those elements are outlined in the response, even though we don't have any written response from the Restoration Council. but it's more of the timing, which is the issue for now. Because with respect to the allegations, I'm informed that they are undertaking the investigations. And as I said, we perceive it maybe just a couple of allegations. No, there are a good number of them. So I presume that also affects the timing of their pronouncement on the
Mr.
present
VP,
situation.
let me stop you there.
I know where you're getting to, Secretary
Sisiko
Chris.
was impeached for
Yes,
breaking the government. Sako has broken the government, and he made attempts at disbanding the APP. Why is there any need for an investigation for a vote on the impeachment? If they are waiting to do some investigation, then Sisiko should be called back in.
yeah, Secretary Chris, I got your question. I wanted to clarify the issue of timing before I come into the contents of the request or the motion for impeachment. Now, with respect to that, I would say the people express their will, desire, and aspirations. It's for the Restoration Council to act on that. You said it here. This liberation struggle covers stakeholders. The interim government is an institution, not a person. The stakeholders are the owners of the interim government institution. So if the people speak, I think the Restoration Council would act appropriately. So again, I don't want to go into the timing, which they are for now associated to investigations. But if by way of the deteriorating situation, and permit me to comfortably say so, I never spoke about AFCON here tonight. But that's the worst that happened to us with all the talk that we had initially, all the fallacies. And this is what really puts me in a bitter position when I see some people questioning, what are you doing? Why do you say this? So are we to be an accomplice as we see our people being slaughtered to go and sit and receive sermons and preachings? Secretary Chris, you were here when statements were made that AFCON will be the last battle. Did you see the evolution of the statements?
Yeah,
Transitioned
right,
into it will not be the only battle for Ambazonia. Did you see how it transitioned again?
right.
We are working on AFCON and on after AFCON. Why all this fallacy? Why all this fallacy? So, why I stated on timing, Secretary Chris, and maybe you didn't get it. The situation is deteriorating. If the Restoration Council does not act as per the will, desire, aspiration of the people will take their destiny into their hands.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's get to the last question, and then I will open the phone lines for Ambazonians. Please, before you call, make sure that you shut down the volume of your television set or whatever method you are watching us with. Make sure you turn down the volume, because if I pick your call while the volume is still turned on, I can't wait for you to go turn it down. So please, before you call, make sure that the volume of your set is turned down. Mr. VP, what, in your opinion, after all of this, is the way forward?
That's a good question. Uh, Let me just permit myself to summarize it. I think what we are undertaking now in the opening statement, I really hope that all what we are going through should be perceived as getting a fix for ground zero. If we have accountable institutions, if the management of our funds guarantee appropriate and timely availability of the resources to the exits on the ground, then we would have achieved a situation of stability. So part of the way forward to me is where we are today, get a fix, a united interim government, a divided interim government, condemn all tendencies of dividing our institutions and our people as a whole, condemn wholly, shut away all intimidations. Before coming online, I had a message from one Restoration Council member telling me to act in this case. They have been intimidating me. I say, you represent a people. So represent your people. Speak for your people. No executive at the federal level should call to intimidate our citizens. They are all stakeholders. So that's the first line for the way forward, Secretary Chris. Stability, which means building the appropriate institutions under the canopy of a united interim government. The second would be accountability. We will not condone with emotions, with threats, with insults, with intimidations. Secretary Chris, how many have you received
Oh yeah, I cannot count
from
them.
the time?
I cannot count them.
So I don't,
And I
by
also have,
way of
I also
the,
have all the labels from a black leg to compromiser to, you know all those labels, right?
so what I'm saying is this: if we should be receiving it from our own people because they don't have a foresight and equally have an in-depth knowledge of what we have, the request which I'm making to our people should be, please be informed so that you can make an appropriate judgment before you make certain pronouncements. And on this, I will still want to reiterate the words which I've used in describing certain situations or certain attitudes are well weighed. Not an inch of those words would be retrieved. Not an inch. And that has been done for Ambazonia. For Ambazonia. That has been done to give you the green light. Is the face, the person, is the face, the person of Dr. Sako? No, to me, no. So we would get an accountable institution. That's the second way forward, Secretary Chris. And the third is the recalibration of the interim government for ground zero. which entails piloting key departments and institutions to function in a linear manner that would put the resources in the hands of the fighters. It's an elaborate talk on the recalibration. In the course of the subsequent APP meetings, that will be presented to our people, and we'll move on from there. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. VP. Let's get to the phones and get the first caller here. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Chris.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Sweden.
Okay, and what is the contribution, sir?
Yes, I have been following your interview with Harrison Abongwa.
Okay.
Yes, and I have questions. I have questions for Mr. Harrison Abongwa and Chris Ano.
All right, do that quickly, sir, so that we can get to other callers. Quickly, 1 minute.
I'm calling you from Sweden.
Can you turn down the volume of your set, please? I hear an echo in the
Yeah.
background.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Yes, I get you now. Go on.
Yes, Mr. Chris, thank you for this opportunity and Happy New Year to you and Mr.
Same
Abongwa.
to you, sir.
Yes, it's been a while. I've not been really coming on to talk so much, but it's been years. I just want to have a question. And
Go ahead.
Mr.
Ask the
Abongwa,
question. Ask the question.
Yes, Mr. Abongwa, I just want to ask you. You've been working in that cabinet with Mr. Chris, and from your conversation today with Mr. Chris, it seems as if Mr. Chris is an outsider from the cabinet. But from my understanding, three of you with Mr. Sakwe Kome were working together and pulling that ship together. But from what I have just realized, you are giving information to Mr. Chris, and Mr. Chris is reacting as he was completely out of the cabinet.
Okay, hold on there. Correction. Hold on there. I think you didn't get. I have said in the course of this interview again and again that I know most of what 99.9% of what he was talking about, but I made mention of the fact that for the interest of those who do not know what we know, I had to ask certain questions. Do you understand?
Absolutely, I got that.
Right. So it's not as if I don't know what he was talking about, but I was asking certain questions just for the benefit of the listeners.
Yeah. Secondly, Mr. Abongwa has not been. Hello?
Hello? Go on, I can hear you.
Yes. My second question is the deal of the mortgage. Mr. Abongwa has not elaborated on that deal deeply. He should clearly give concise and precise information to Ambazonians about the deal.
What is it? Hold on. What do you want him precisely? What do you want to hear precisely?
He has not said the type of deal that was signed and what was mortgaged. We've just heard about the mortgage of Ambazonia. You cannot mortgage the whole of Ambazonia for $200,000.
Right.
So what was specifics on the deal? Yeah.
All right. Let him answer the question. Yes. Thank you. Dr. Abongwa, please.
Yeah. Thanks to the caller. I didn't pick up his name. I think it was stated that these are allegations. There are allegations. And when these allegations are being brought up, they are to be subjected for investigation. So Dr. Abongwa is not an investigative journalist or a financial investigator. I stated the allegation and how that allegation of the deal came to my knowledge. So all the information which I have at my disposal has been submitted. I mentioned that to the Restoration Government Affairs Committee and to the Restoration Council Financial Committee. I can only be privy to details of the deal if I was part of the deal. I was never consulted. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
All right, let's get to the next caller. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
From Bamenda.
Okay, and what is your question or contribution?
Yes, I'm very impressed. I just want to say I'm very impressed with what you are doing there with respect to the crisis in the interim government. Very, very impressed. Because a lot is being exposed now to the learning, to the hearing of Ambazonians, which is very, very necessary at this critical time. Then I am very, very scandalized, like many Ambazonians here, about the revelation being made about Dr. Sako. Very scandalized, especially at this critical time when the enemy, the Francophone regime, is determined to avoid dialogue by any means and continue to persecute this war, especially at this time when children are being killed, when the destruction continues. And to those who are supporting Dr. Sako, let me tell you, the mere fact that AFCON has held in Victoria is an abomination. That is something that Mr. Sako will live to explain to Ambazonia whether he likes it or not. Because he took an undertaking as a president and swore that there was going to be no AFCON. But look at the humiliation we have had. Look at the humiliation. How are we going to tell the rest of the world that it is well that we control our territory? How are we going to tell the rest of the world? Mr. Sakawa has a lot to explain to Amazonians. He will have to come out clean the way you guys are coming out clean. You have to come out clean.
All right.
To save his skin. Yes, to save his skin. Otherwise, it will be terrible. Mr. Sako should not forget that we have lost more than 30,000 Amazonians in this war. More than 500 villages. And we know very well that with a better leader, we would already be in Boya. So whatever is happening now to the detriment of Ambazonia lies on the shoulders of Mr. Sako and his surrogates, the Irenes and so on. These people are playing with lava. Thank you very much, Secretary.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the call. Right. Let's get to the next caller. I like it when Ground Zero calls. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Chris.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kumba.
From Kumba, K-Town. Okay, and what is the contribution?
Well, actually, this conversation for today was very interesting. To see the Vice President coming out with a lot of insights that most of Amazonians are not aware of. You see, like he earlier said, there are a lot of things that Amazonians are not aware of. And these things create a lot of doubt within Amazonians. And with these doubts, people can start creating certain allegations and can come up with something else that you people sitting there won't be able to control. Because now, from what we are seeing, it's evident to us that the president Sako is just there for his personal benefits. And there are a lot of things going down, just like the previous caller just said. We've lost more than 30,000 people. People are unbearable to get work, to do whatever they want to do, sacrificing their kids, house getting burned. And we have some stupid person sitting up there collecting 30, making deals and playing with people's life. We are in Kumba. Tell them we are observing all of you and we are seeing everybody. This place, after this war, it will be worse than what happened even in Zaire or wherever. They should be very careful. We have lost people. We have lost our brothers. And some of them are still in the bush. Everything you're doing there, you will be accountable down here. We are waiting for you people down here. Tell Sako, tell whoever. We are used to with the gun. We have the guns and we'll live with it. If they continue this way, we'll live with it. We know their families. Southern Cameroon is a very small place. We know everyone, we know every family, and we know how to get everybody. So if you're going behind, taking money to sell us and taking us for fools, and taking us like stupid people, listen, We are in ground zero. So all of you, everybody I'm saying is going to be accountable at the end of the day. Thank you people very much. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. I can feel the bitterness in you, but you can rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, that is the very reason we have waged this war. We cannot allow somebody who is not accountable to the people sit there as leader of this struggle. Now, some of you can begin to understand why he doesn't even want to stand elections. He doesn't want elections. Ladies and gentlemen, which leader in which government doesn't want to stand election, then shut down the damn government? All right, let me get to the next caller here. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Hello, sir. This is San Antonio, I guess.
Correct. This is Ephraim calling from San Antonio, Texas.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. VP. I heard it stated that AFCON failed. No, I don't think AFCON failed. Things went exactly the way the president wanted, the outgoing president. Things went exactly the way he wanted them to go. And that is why, in the first place, he dissolved FACO County Security System. Those were the people who were supposed to work hand in hand with the rest of the country to stop AFCON. He dissolved them and didn't put in place any credible group of people to take care of this.
He put in place his cronies. He put in place John Frunso. He put in place my word something. I've forgotten the name. We're gonna hold them to account to tell us what they did with the funds that every county in Ambazonia donated towards that event.
Yes, and many of us did. My LGA, many more did. Many other LGAs contributed. And he appoints John Frusso. I mean, these are people who are very used to the corruption that we have there in La Republic. They are part of the system. So he brings it over here. The president, the outgoing president takes him and keeps him there as his right-hand man, and he spews lies, the Chiroma lies, while our people are dying. This would have been the opportunity for us to say it out loud and clear. The United States to Britain, to the world out there, that Ambazonia meant that there was not going to be no AFCON played in their country or in our country without consultation, and that we had to authorize AFCON as a sovereign nation to take place in Ambazonia or not. But it didn't go that way. You know what? My personal belief is that things went exactly the way the Rosako wanted them to go. He has a reason. You know what? It's time for him to let him go. Let him just leave us alone. Let him just leave us alone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's see who else is on the line. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Secretary Chris and Dr. Abongwa. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Where are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Canada.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have two questions for. I have two questions for Dr. Abongwa.
Okay. Quickly.
Yeah, Dr. Abongwa, my first question is, yeah, hello?
Yes, go on. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. My first question is for the Federal Marshal. You know the ambassador. And I'm just quoting this from your words. The first month of the CID, you stated in one meeting that they raised about 6,000 and a few hundred. And up to now, how much has the CID be contributing, and that was for the federal Masha. And the federal Masha is dead. Can you explain something about that? And the second question is, what do you think is the go ahead now? Do you think is the solution?
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let Dr. Abongwa answer, please. Thank you. All right, VP, go on, please.
Yeah, thanks, the call. I didn't really get clear your question on the federal marshal because I think there's a mix up. You're making reference to the federal marshal and you're naming the CID.
I think you wanted to know how much came in, and I guess what you are collecting or have been collecting for the CID.
How much of the CID funds went into the federal marshal project?
I think so.
Did he? Is the speaker still online? The caller still online? Secretary?
No, he's gone.
Well, the federal marshal project, as of date, remains the second federal project that has not been declassified. So, in terms of information, what I can tell the caller for now is that all what was put as a budget for that project was attained. We had contributions from directly from our own citizens, but a substantial chunk of what was engaged in the federal marshal project came from the European meeting, the conference which the European country heads organized, and then another substantial amount came from the Los Angeles community, and the biggest chunk came from funds that were reconciled by our sister Ma Irene from contacts with donors. The CID was never in place to sponsor the federal marshal project. I heard he made mention of the Amber Star team, so maybe he was a member of the Amber Star team. Yes, the Amber Star team was put in place to build the resources to maintain the federal marshal. But if he's a member, I presume you should know that the Amber Star team is no more functional. And the funds for the Amber Star team, while awaiting the constitution of the federal marshal, were engaged in some other projects, which if you were a member to that house, you should be privy to that detail. So the CID was never engaged in the federal marshal project. I think that's specifically the answer I can give that speaker. The second question, Secretary Chris, if you can remind me on that, please. You're not audible, Secretary Chris.
Again, the second question was, what is the way forward, which you already touched on it. Let's get to the next caller. Let's give many callers the opportunity to.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Secretary Chris. This is Joe from Germany.
Okay, sir. Good evening, and go ahead and make your point.
I'm happy to get you today. I've been trying to get you, but this is my first time I've successfully got through the line.
Okay.
I just want you and Vice President Abongwa to confirm to the Ambazonian people why we are boiling. To confirm to the Ambazonian people that tomorrow evening during our APP meeting, we are forming a new government. Can you please, you and Abongwa, confirm to the Amazonian people? Because we cannot keep on dragging this thing.
I don't think it's. I don't think it is our decision to make, but believe me, if the people say that is the way to go tomorrow, that will definitely be the way.
Yeah, but can you please give us your own opinion, you and the Vice President, whether you are for this, whether you support this tomorrow?
I am for what Ambazonians want to see happen. If they say that is a way, I will welcome it and endorse it.
Thank you for that. What about it? I would like to hear the Vice President also give his own opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Comrade Joe. Let me just open up on two things. The first is you see the management of this internal crisis has lost jurisdiction, be it from the executive arm of the government, from the judiciary, which we are getting to know that it's not even legally or constitutionally existing. And we are now at the level of the Restoration Council, where I would say we still have some time. But why I'm saying this is the approach when you face such a constitutional crisis, on one part, should be, you know, let the people lead you. Let the people lead you. So apparently, through the APP meeting, which we'll be holding tomorrow, the people would be part of a solution to this problem, and the people would be part of paving the way forward. So that's what I can tell you for now. We don't have dictates, because we must lead by the will, aspiration, and desire of the people. I think I've said this more than 3 times. And in such situations, there are just certain situations where you are led by the people, by their aspiration. So in tomorrow's APP meeting, whatever the outcome is, let it be the people that have spoken. And I don't think I'll stand any position of objecting or refusing their stance. Thank you.
Okay, let us get to the phone to the next caller. Let me see. Hello.
Hello, Chris. Am I live now?
You are live, sir. And where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from from District of Columbia. That's Washington D.C. And my name is Ernest.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I want to thank the VP for coming out today to talk to Ambazonia, and also to say that he is the VP according to some of us who are in the APP right now, because he's still the person that is legitimate to the interim government that the Ambazonian people have. And we know that the president himself has failed, because now he's standing above the Restoration Council, and now we have the APP, which had made several decisions even about this AFCON, which the Secretary of Communication announced, and nobody allowed them to act on it, which means that up down to the Restoration Council, we don't have anybody that's feeling the pinch of every day in this our restoration quest, and the war that's going on, and the deaths that are happening. So we are saying that APP now becomes the last straw. APP now is the last straw, because we can't get to APP and start talking about the next day. And when we get to APP, we shouldn't have so much on the agenda. We already said impeach. Is it to impeach? Then we say yes, and the meeting ends. There are no two things that they have to discuss. And
All
then,
right.
knowing that sorry, please, knowing that the PM, the Prime Minister of the Cameroons, came to Victoria, and people were saying that he will not come to Victoria. It's not going to happen, and he came. And the AFCON has come, and the same thing happened. Don't you see that there's connection between CDC and the Prime Minister's office as far as the deal between the CDC and the SACO is concerned? So the CDC has been working very well with SACO, and that's why SACO have to ban a whole government that was elected. Who gave him those powers? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for the call, sir. I'm learning that many more people have just been summoned besides the general manager of the CDC. I'm learning that many more summons have been issued to different, different staff of the CDC. Unfortunately, this thing is all in French, and I really can't read them now. But yes, this one is issued to, it says convocation, deuxième convocation. This is to who? Deuxième convocation to Madame, no, let me see. To one Monsieur Nkangu Lebong Denise. Again, to appear before the tribunal, the criminal tribunal, special criminal tribunal in Yaoundé on the jeudi 17. Jeudi is what? January what? Jeudi 17 Janvier 2022. Again, this is to one Mr. Nkangu Lebong Denise. Then there is another one. There is another one that is issued to one Mr. Peter Njumbe Fossa. Peter Njumbe Fossa. Again, to appear before the criminal committee on the February 16. February 16. Now, that is not all. That is not all. The next one is to one Mbile Tape. One Mr. Mbile Tape, Director General of PAMO at Ekondo Titi, to appear before the criminal tribunal on the February 15, 2022. 2022. That is not the last one. There is another one. One Mr. Ngoni Nji Franklin. Oh, that is the general manager of CDC, to appear there on 17 February. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I think, there are so many of them. So many. I guess there are nine people. Let me take that briefly again. So you have one Forte Manjong, Mr. Forte Manjong Vincent, who will be appearing before the committee on the February 17th. You have then Nganu Lebong Denise. You also have Chu Martin, Chu Martin, CHOU, Chu Martin will be appearing there also. Then you have Nkangu Lebong Denise appearing before that committee. Then you also have Peter Njumbe Fossa appearing to the committee, the criminal committee. You have Mbile Tape also appearing there. Then we also have Ngoni Nji. I mentioned that as the general manager. Then Then you have mentioned that. All these have been mentioned. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, those are CDC PAMOL workers convocated to appear before the criminal tribunal in La République du Cameroon in the coming days in Yaoundé. Let's get back to the phones. Hello.
Good evening, Secretary Chris.
Okay, good evening, sir. If you can pull your mouth a little bit farther from the microphone so we can get a clearer sound of you, that would be great.
Good evening. Do you hear me now?
That is better. Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Thailand.
Thailand. All right, sir. Go on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Secretary Chris, for everything that you have been doing. And we really appreciate everything we are getting to.
Yes, go on. I can hear you.
We are getting to know a lot of things through this new channel that you just created. We really appreciate that. However, as you can see, there is too much chaos going on within the struggle, and everything is trying to delay everything going down there on ground zero. Now, my question is, why, in the first place, what have they done with all the contribution from my trip to Boya to the first draft and the second draft? Why can't we not form a new group which will take care till a new leader is found? Why the chairman of the RC not respecting? Why isn't he respecting the people's decision? Then, lastly, I heard your last conversation with Mullah Wunja and stuff like that. Why don't you, someone like that, he have been out there for some time, he's always coming out with a lot of things that when he talks, we get a certain clue of certain things going on. Why can't you all nominate him like one of the chairman or restoration council or something? People like that who always come with things that really bring awareness to people out there. We need them to put an eye on certain things. Look at all this confusion going on now. I remember you invited him here last time I was watching. He gave us some clue about this SACCO issue. And now the truth is coming out. So we need people like that around. So my question is, what is the way forward now? You are part of the people there. You are there. What are we going to do? I had a call from Ground Zero Kumba, someone from Kumba, threatening. These are two people that are frustrated. And Ambazonia, as you see, is very small. We have to do something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The other thing I can say to you is let us gather tomorrow. The meeting tomorrow is a decision-making meeting. Whatever you want to see happen as stakeholders in this struggle, please get into the meeting tomorrow, and you can expect some good decisions to be taken from your own contributions. All right. Oh, hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, Secretary Chris.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from Bamenda.
Okay, your contribution, sir.
Yes, please. I want to add my voice to fellow Ambazonians within the country and out of in the diaspora to say, let us impeach Sako for all what he is doing there. Actually, this issue of his corrupt attitude did not start by him forcing himself over there in the interim government. Actually, Comrade Sako has actually been a president of one of the organizations, which I would not like to mention the name here, in Ground Zero. And he actually duped, I want to say, scam a lot of people here.
Were you part of the organization or what?
Exactly.
Okay, tell us.
Would like me to,
yes,
if
go ahead.
you would like me to snap, if you would like me to snap some of the receipts of the scam deal and share with you, I will not hesitate to do so.
Do they have his signature on it?
Actually, he had his cronies who were linked to that, who were actually in charge of collecting the monies. And at the end of the day, it was all a sham, and everything in fact, I know of a lot of people, most of my colleagues who lost money in that deal. Until date, people are still lamenting. So when he took over the leadership of the interim government, many people who were involved in that deal were actually not happy.
And why did any of you not speak up at the time?
Well, you cannot, when you see people moving at a particular direction, you will bear with me, Secretary Chris, when you were part of the interim government, you would not like to scatter something that is moving. We were waiting for such an appropriate moment as it is now to lay all these issues bare. And I'm happy and I very much appreciate what the former Vice President, Comrade Abongwa Harrison, has started by being so clear and straightforward on what laying bare and putting a lot of clarifications forth. And also to say, this corrupt attitude, well, for security reasons, I would not like to mention the organization in question. He actually duped a lot of people who ended up in Central African Republic there.
You can send me that information after this in the background, and I will contact you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, also, please, Secretary Chris, with regards to the APP tomorrow, if you could share the link widely for people to have it, that would be great. And moreover, to ensure that we put in place a transparent government that is accountable to the people, that is exemplary in leadership, that portrays leadership qualities and good governance virtues, and a government that will concentrate or focus on the struggle rather than all these distractions left, right, center, and the government, above all, the government that will ensure a unity among all these factions.
All right.
Bear with me that the reason why this struggle is lagging behind is largely because of our divisive nature. A is talking and going this way, B is talking and going that way, and by so doing, we can really not get anywhere, because no government around the world that should have supported the initiative of the people complaining, the people on the ground who are having burnt houses every day, killings left, right, center. No reasonable government out there will actually want to step in when they see this divided nature. But when they see a united people, there is no government out there that will not put its weight and say, no, these people have been oppressed for too long. They should be given the chance. So,
all right.
Chris, thank you very much. I want to add my voice to say the former President Sako must be impeached. It is a must.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hear you. You have a great night, sir. All right, let's get to the next caller here. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Secretary Chris.
Good evening, sir.
May God bless you and the Vice President.
All right, hold the line, please.
My concern is this. You people know that Mr. Sako is organizing another meeting so that he may distract people not to come to the IPP.
We are aware of that, and we are encouraging every Ambazonian to demonstrate their anger by avoiding going into that meeting. The only meeting, if you want to know the way forward and you want to participate in decision making, come into the APP tomorrow. There are links out there. The links are out there, and we want everybody, hold on, please. The link is out there. We want everybody to, if you make a mistake and get into Sako's link, pull out immediately and get into this APP. All right.
Vice President, what wait so long before coming out with all this scam that Sako has done?
I think he answered that question. Apparently, you were not listening.
Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Thank you. God bless you.
And I would like to ask the admins of ABS to please, if you can put up that link, if you can put up the link of the APP meeting tomorrow on the wall, that will be great so that people can copy it. Put up the link of the APP meeting tomorrow on the wall so for people to copy. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ground 1, Secretary Chris.
Okay. What is your contribution, sir?
Yeah, Secretary Chris. First of all, please, I want to say something. I've been following you since last year. You have never picked my call since last year.
Until I picked it today.
Now, yeah. So please try to be picking my call, please.
It is difficult to know who is calling. I pick the call on the order in which they come in.
Okay.
So go ahead, make your point.
Okay, sir, thank you. Please, I want to ask the Vice President,
Yes.
can he sincere tell us, as somebody who really feel for Ambazonia, for us, can he really tell us now his life on TV that Sako is not a good president? Sako should be out, because from all the analysis he has given us, you have been saying it, Nancho have been saying it, Prince Jacob have been saying it, he too have said his own. Can he tell Ambazonia now truly, now I'm asking him now, can he tell Ambazonia now, Sako need to go? Sako need to go. Can he say
All
it
right.
to us now?
All right.
And if he say it to us now, it means that everything he has been telling us now is the truth. Thank you.
All right. Mr. VP, you have the line.
Yeah, thanks to that caller. Again, I said I owe the people a legacy. Despite all the intimidations, threats, insults, castigations, and blackmails, I am here. Maybe I myself, for reasons of decency, with words like bigotism, blackmailer, Machiavellism, kleptocracy, or opportunist, and I termed them qualities void of any pedigree of leadership. So if you want me, my dear brother, to break them down, bigotism is a person who is hard to seek and accommodate other opinions. Confabulator is a liar. Blackmailer is somebody who stains your moral integrity for a purpose. Machiavellism, what word do I use to break it down? Cunning. Kleptocracy means subtracting from what is not yours, to use a polite word. And an opportunist is when you use your office to get hold of resources that are meant for a different purpose, for your own personal interest. That's a summary of what I gave of the qualities that represent who we now have as a ruler. So I think it's sufficient enough a position. And I equally stated here, it's not an easy stand for me to state all this. I've been tagged with all sorts of words. I've been intimidated that I'm here, and all the words, I said it earlier, all the words are backed by the actions. So I'm not withdrawing an inch of any of these words, but the decision to who leads the liberation struggle, it's your liberation struggle. It's Secretary Chris's liberation struggle. It's my liberation struggle. We are all stakeholders. That decision would be taken by the people. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Korea.
Good afternoon, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Maryland.
Okay. What is your contribution?
Yes, I'm happy for to meet me in your forum. The outcome have come and gone, and it's really a disgrace to the Ambazonia people. And I don't know what we can say to the outside world. And two is that you have been talking, Nancho talking about embezzlement of our president. Nancho have been expressing that he has facts. Please, can you guys not table or send some of the documents that the president have undersigned, so that the Ambazonians should be clear with what is going on? Because some of us doesn't want to be hearing I hear say. We want proofs, and the president have said it and repeatedly said that put it in writing. You see, give evidence, and he will be there to represent everything that will be asked by the installation, by the Restoration Council.
Okay, hold on there, comrade. Hold on there. Let me ask you a question. When Mola Sako said he is willing and ready to step out and give everybody his account number, his social security number, and everything you can imagine, do you really think that he gets that money into any of his bank accounts? I mean, you live in the U.S., correct?
Because I learned from Nancho, so he has proof of it.
Well, I am not Nancho. I have mentioned one incident in which I was involved. He knows that. There are other witnesses. I can talk about that. I will let Nancho to talk about what he knows. But listen, this is the fact. The fact is that there are people who have to be investigated for their role, because when you know that Mr. A was part of this and Mr. A did this, the bank account was in the name of Mr. A, I have sat in meetings and listened to Ambazonians, one after the other, said they send money to Mola Sako, but through somebody else's account. Even if that money was only $1,000, it would have to be, it had to go through somebody else's account. So, listen, I think we are smart enough to know what goes on here. We will allow the Ambazonian people to make their decision and not the Restoration Council, because it appears they are just playing to the gallery. Thank you for the call. Let's get to the next callers. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Secretary Chris. Am I live?
You are live, sir. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Germany, sir. I want to give my contribution.
Go on, please.
I want to thank our Vice President for coming out today. I also want to thank you for this wonderful show. I have just 2 points. My first point is that I want to plead to all Ambazonians who have been supporting this idea of President Sako being in power for life, like Pobia. Now they are hearing the issue of money and so forth. I want to encourage them to also go to President Sako and take their own part of money, because let them not just be supporting what they are losing.
No, comrade, hold on. Comrade, hold on. I will not say they should go to him and take their own part of the money. I will rather say, if you send money by any means to him for Ambazonia, let us know. Send us the receipt. The phone number is right here on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you send money for this struggle into his hands to some bank account, please send us a receipt. There you have the phone number on the screen. That's a WhatsApp number. We want to know. Yes, go on, sir.
Yes, this my statement is for those who think that anything that is said is propaganda, is frame up, is blackmailing, and all the rest. They have listened from Vice President and honest man that I know for long. They should go now to Dr. Sako and collect their own share of money, because they just follow things blindly without going into details. They go online insulting people. Then my last point here is that now, if President Sako is impeached, how are we going to retrieve all of our money from CID, the part of draft money still in the account, and all whatnot? How are we going to retrieve that money? Does it mean that we are going to start our account again at fresh with no money like we started in the days of Sisiko Ayoktabe? Sisiko Ayoktabe left. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we will leave that into the hands of the technocrats. All right. Let's get this one, Mr. VP, before you go. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York.
Okay, and what is the contribution, sir?
Thank you, Secretary Chris, for what you've done, and for the Vice President, what he has done today and what he's still doing today. And I want to address this to the Vice President. You have answered your own questions. Many people have called you, and you've answered your own question about the impeachment. This is something that we need the Vice President. He has to address it to the entire Ambazonia. He should speak a language that everyone will understand. He should speak a language that the Ambazonia will see that he is fit to be in that position. Because we are all, at this point, desperately in need of his word to confirm to us that he is ready, using his big terms, and we are not ready for that. We are ready to see things that he speak a clear English. Is he for us to impeach President Sako or not? These are things we need to hear from him. They have asked him this question time and again. He is not ready to address that to the Ambazonians. Please,
Mr. VP, I think you are being put on the spot. Can you speak in clearer terms for these people to understand where you are?
Yeah, thank that caller for the call. Ambazonia would not be built on strong individuals or strong personalities. What we have as values that defines our identity: integrity, diligence, righteousness, should be transformed into values in prosecuting our liberation struggle. I personally am a stakeholder, just like the comrade who called. I appreciate you getting my stance, but again, it's about the people. It's about the people making the decision based on informed positions. What do you want?
I'm sorry,
The
VP.
people.
I think the caller. What the caller wants to know is whether you will back the people if they say yes. All we want is impeachment. I think they know who is taking the decision, but they want to know whether you will be behind that decision.
Of course, 100%. Anything that is decided by the people, I would.
Awesome. All right. Let's get to this other caller here. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Yes, good evening. Calling from, this is London, right?
Yeah, calling you from the UK.
All right. And what is the contribution, please?
Thank you. Let me first of all, Happy New Year
Same
to
to
both
you.
of you, yourself and Dr. Abongwa. Thank you for your smartness, because without this medium, Ambazonia should know that a lot that we know now, our interim government or the people in place would not have allowed you to go on. In fact, there would have been a lot of chaos. But your smartness to come out with this is a good thing. Although some people look at you have gone to create your own TV to make money. No. It was, to me, this is my opinion. It was a very good thing. Instead of fighting for ABC, no, I have to go on and say what I want to say. You decided to do this. In fact, it's a big thank to you, because
Thank
you
you.
have this struggle ahead. And the second thing I want to beg with you, sir, with all due respect, let's follow procedures. He's done, our outgoing has done a lot. We thank him, but let's follow procedures. And I'm begging Ambazonians to keep praying. We should follow procedures to put him out so that others will learn. There is no way he is going to resist, because we gave him a chance. And this is the second time. We cannot go again the third time. This is what I am saying, in my opinion, because all of us have been watching this. I mean, we started this revolution. It's got the first time, my trip to Boya, a lot of all this have come. No, we have got you, because this is, I put it a relay. Where he ended, he cannot pull it again. Somebody has to take that baton and put the speed that we need. So that is how I look at it. So with, on your part, sir, there should be no hatred, bias for everything that you're doing, please, because we say this is a God-ordained revolution. Everything you are doing, you're doing it on behalf of Ambazonians. And that is, we should understand that, and you yourself should understand that. You and Dr. Shako, it shouldn't be anything, because people are dying. I understand where Dr. Abongwa Harrison, in fact, where he's coming from with all this, what he has said. I might not be able to explain it all, what he has said, but here we have our people dying, crushing our people. We have got to take things, maybe from now, it's a step for our eyes to open and to open a new page to know how to do things. So
All right.
the next person that is coming is going to be, I mean, he will know that no, there is no messing about here.
All right.
The second thing, or third thing I am going to tell you is
Briefly, sir.
I want to applaud you. I want to thank you. My all is to thank you. The first step you took on your television to call Mark Barretta, because that is, you are a watchman. You are a man of this revolution.
please extend your hands a lot. If you can bring all the factions, especially the IG1, IG2 that we have today, you can bring them together. Ambazonians will love you.
Thank you.
That is what we want.
Thank you. We will do that, but let's put our house together first. Thank you very much for the call. I will let the VP have the last word. Time is far spent. I think this is the longest show that we have had here. VP, please address your people. You've heard from them, and let's call it a night.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary Chris. Most distinguished comrades, my dear brothers and sisters in the diaspora, ground zero should probably be late now. I'll close up with a message to you all. We are recruited by way of origin to defend an ideology, which is a free Ambazonia. It's not a task that we were bred to handle, but we as a people, collectively for the past years, have been able to challenge all odds to maintain the resilience and forge ahead. But of course, like in every revolutionary situation by way of the word, things evolve. There are periods of high and low tides. But what should render us victorious is how we navigate through these high and low tides. We should be navigating and we should be progressing. So, when need arises, in so long as challenging the odds is to instate resources into the liberation struggle, then that's a message for hope. So we should all collaborate to see into it that we get a quick fix and consolidate the same machinery or interim government in the prosecution of this liberation struggle. All the chaos has an end, and that end should be for you. That end should be getting a fix for ground zero. For all those who still live in denial, skepticisms on whatever pronouncements have been made, seek your consciences. I stated earlier, it has not been an easy position. That was justified also by the time I engaged to come up here. You have the information, you have the facts. It's your revolution, it's your liberation struggle. Let's collectively forge a way forward tomorrow in the APP meeting. Let's do it for posterity. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. VP. It was such a pleasure having you here. We look forward to meeting again tomorrow. You have a great night, sir.
Thank you, Secretary Grace. Same to you, please.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. We've had a great time here together. Before I go, I'd like to remind all of you again of the Summit tomorrow. The link is right there on our Facebook page. If you are on Ground Zero, you can log on to ABS TV on Facebook, and you will get the link into that meeting. The meeting starts at 8 p.m. Amber. 8 p.m. Amber. The doors will be open about 30 minutes before that, or probably even 7 p.m. So please get the link and log in on time so that you are not kicked out when the Zoom is full. All right, we look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be what I call the decision day. The decision day. Thank you very much for staying put. Please get to our website, absafricatv.com, and click on the donation button to keep ABS running and bringing you more of these informational broadcasts. Now, let me remind you, on Friday, we are having 2 foreign ministers. You don't want to miss it. Again, we're having 2 powerful guests, international guests here, and you really don't want to miss the guests. So please, get ready for Friday. Get ready for Friday. All right? It was a pleasure being here. God bless you all, and good night.